Greetings, everyone. I thought I would take a moment on this fine day to come out, sit on my porch, and do a beer review. I see some rain clouds coming in overhead, so I hope I have a little bit of time here. This is a special beer. This is a bottle of Westvleteren 12. Comes from the Abbey of Sint-Sixtus in Westvleteren, Belgium. As you can see, the bottle has no markings or label, which indicates that it is indeed a legitimate bottle. The cap, as you may be able to see, contains the legal and any legal information and any information needed, but authentic bottles of this beer will not have a label on it. This beer is regarded by many as the greatest beer in the world. That's kind of opinionated, obviously, but many beer sites and beer enthusiasts have rated this as the greatest beer in the world. It's very hard to come by. It's only sold on site at the Abbey of St. Sixtus in Belgium. It's the only Trappist beer that is not sold commercially. In other words, you have to actually go to the monastery, to the abbey rather, to obtain it legitimately. This bottle was obtained legitimately by me. A friend of mine in Germany went to the abbey and procured several bottles for me. It's the monk's wishes that this beer is not sold for a profit, not sold commercially. It's just sold for the upkeep of their lifestyle at the abbey. I'm going to go ahead and open this now. This beer is it's not room temperature. It's best served around 50 degrees, not too cold. I have my signature glassware to enjoy this accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this out now. Pours just perfectly. It's very dark. This is a quadruple beer. It's dark with a nice tannish white head on there. I have had this beer a few times now. I can't say for sure whether I would call it the best beer in the world, but there's definitely a lot of respect that goes into this beer. As I said, I did obtain it legitimately, and there's a respect factor there. Also, I'm using signature glassware, which should be done for beers of this style. You'll notice it has a very strong smell to it. Quadruples are usually high in alcohol. This is 10.2%, which is about normal for the style. The smell is strong, a little bit on the sweet side. You'll get the sense of some dark fruits, dark dried fruits. It's a little bit on the carbonated side. It's an unfiltered beer, so it's pretty opaque. There's no residue in the bottle. I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of this. It's extremely flavorful. Although it has high alcohol content, you can sense the alcohol, but it doesn't really overpower the flavor. It's extremely smooth. You get a little bit of a candy sweetness to it, maybe a light toffiness. And you can sense the flavor of the dark fruits. However, there's also a very organic quality to it, an earthiness, not quite a grassiness that you would get from a lighter beer or a pale ale, but there's a definite earthy, organic quality to it. As I said, this is called the greatest beer in the world by many. I think that's overhyped a bit, mainly because sort of like a Cuban cigar, they're hard to obtain, and thus people who have had it are going to say it's the greatest thing in the world. But that said, it's still a very tremendous beer. It's very smooth, very complex. I mean, I wouldn't call it my favorite beer, but then again, I haven't drank enough of it to make that kind of a statement. It's definitely one of the best that I've had. And again, whether or not I could actually call it the greatest beer in the world, there's a lot of there's the respect factor. A lot of respect goes into this. The monks have have their tradition of beer making, and that's not to be looked upon lightly. For as strong and not heavy, but for I guess just basically as strong as this beer is, it has a very light mouthfeel, light to medium. It doesn't stay in your mouth. There's a little bit of an aftertaste maybe, but not very much. And it's not sour, it's not stale. It's very smooth, extremely drinkable. Although of course, with all the effort it goes into to actually get this beer, you don't want to. You want to savor it. You don't want to drink it fast, which is what I'm doing now. I'm savoring it as much as possible. I have to thank my friends who acquired this beer for me. Like I said, a friend of mine who lives in Germany made the trip to the brewery to get this beer for me. He got me several bottles, so I say cheers to both of them. There's a lot of character in this beer. As you can see, the head has receded a little bit, but it still stays on there. It's perfectly smooth on top. There's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into making a beer like this. As I said with the bottle, they're nondescript. This other bottle I have, some of them have a little embossment there, and that's still legitimate. But there will not be a label. I'm going to save the cap for this, obviously. I have several more bottles of this that I'm going to cellar. I'm going to cellar 1 or 2 bottles for 5 years, and then 1 or 2 for 10 years. This beer is known to age well, as are many strong beers and just generally beers of this style. And it's always worth it to revisit them in a few years after they've aged and see the different qualities that come out. And I'm very interested to do that in the future. Of course, I will have to anticipate that because I just obtained this beer within the past couple months. So, but yes, it's Westvleteren 12. Very good, very good. Called the #1 beer in the world. It's a matter of opinion, but it is definitely it definitely lives up to the hype. Whether or not you can call it the #1 is a matter of your own opinion. I personally do not. However, like I've said before, it's extremely good. I respect it a lot. I respect the people that make it a lot. And I guess there's nothing much more to say about it. So I'm going to savor this and finish the rest of it. It's worth seeking out if you can, but in accordance with the monk's wishes, I would implore you to obtain it legitimately. It's very hard. It took me a while to do, but it was definitely worth it in the end. Extremely good. Extremely, just completely complex and full of character. Westvleteren 12. Very good beer. Thanks again for watching.